So Reddit, what's the most inappropriate time you laughed? We were at my uncle's funeral whose death was a surprise. I was standing with my cousin who just came back from abroad to attend her dad's funeral and was breaking down. My aunt, the deceased's sister, came to tell my cousin that someone we know is apologizing for not being able to attend the funeral because she's in the hospital due to a car accident. My aunt went on describing the woman's very difficult condition and how she had an iron pole stuck into her forehead 10 minutes later. The woman appears through the door in perfect health with just some scratches. My cousin sees her and look at me from the other side of the crowded silent room and we both can't stop laughing for the rest of the funeral. So, she lied about her condition and got called out firsthand? That's hilarious. I don't blame you one bit. That's a funny way to make someone feel better. Sorry your dad is dead. This other person you know has just been in a terrible accident and have a metal pole stuck in their skull. I always had a problem laughing when I was being scolded in my childhood. Then I would be scolded further for laughing. Then I would laugh more. It was a vicious cycle. I remember hearing that laughing in the face of an angry parent is a natural defense mechanism of some sort. Source: my college psych professor. Makes sense. I assume it's a way to lighten the mood and relieve tension with laughter. It did not ease the tension. Believe me. A woman got on stage to sing during a friend's wedding as part of the ceremony. It was naturally a song the bride and groom chose. As soon as she opened her mouth it became clear that she absolutely tone deaf. It sounded like an animal being tortured. I was trying not to laugh but two guys behind me started laughing and it set off a chain reaction of laughter. Even the groom was red-faced from trying not to laugh. She just kind of sheepishly left the stage afterward. This happened at my wife's grandfather's funeral. A woman sang a completely tone-deaf and broken version of Amazing Grace. Her voice was somehow gravely and ear-piercing at the same time. My wife and I sat there squeezing each other's hands as hard as we could to hold back the laughter. This was at a ballet school performance. It was for kids ranging from 5 to 16-year-olds. For one of the younger age groups they did this thing where one kid pranced from one corner of the stage to the other, and then another kid would do the opposite, in a big X pattern, and they would have these gigantic shit-eating grins on their faces. Just horribly precious. Well, I started losing it at about the 15th kid but it went on for like 40 children. By the end I was in tears and all the other adults in the audience near me had found it contagious, so everyone was just sitting there laughing at their own children. Mayo, this mental image alone is making me giggle out loud. Thanks. Laughed so hard at this it was like COVID-19 didn't exist for a whole minute. My computer's teacher in middle school told me he was run over by a car when he was a child. I laughed because I thought he was joking. He was not joking. Someone told me the first memory he had of childhood was of being hungry. I also laughed thinking it was a joke, but it turned out it was about him being so poor he and his brother were always hungry growing up. Kinda similar. I did a very strict keto diet for 8 months and lost a shitload of weight. So much so that my doctor asked me to stop. Anyway, sometime during the first month I realized that this feeling was exactly how I always felt at school when I was a kid. Starvation. That feeling was starvation. Cadaver room. One of my classmates accidentally stuck his finger in a kidney because he thought it was behind glass and tried to poke the glass. He was like, squish, oh fuck. In high school we saw a display of healthy lungs versus smoking lungs. I went up and poked the healthy ones thinking they weren't real and I guess I just had to feel them. I was horrified when the unimpressed person at the display told me not to touch and that they were real. When I went to a cadaver lab they let me use what was basically a bicycle tire pump to inflate the lungs. Me and a friend were altar boys. An older woman took to the podium to read a Bible passage. The passage described how Jesus loves everyone. The sick and the healthy, the rich and the poor, the circumcised and the uncircumcised. That's all it took for a pair of 10-year-old boys to start laughing hysterically in front of a packed church. Why did this lady think Jesus so worried about the state of other dudes' penises? This was a common biblical reference to Jews, circumcised, and Gentiles, uncircumcised. Why was Jesus so worried about my turtleneck? At my grandaunt's funeral, she was a big, jolly food lover while alive and is sorely missed. Everything was going along. Lots of tears while the vicar was giving the eulogy, until he shared her last words. Come on, a little whipped cream isn't going to kill me. I lost my shit. This was 10 years ago and I still feel terrible for laughing. Was it the whipped cream that killed her though? That's the only proper question to this. It was a wafer thin after dinner mint that got her. My grandma died 2 years ago at 94 and for years she'd been warning everyone that she could die any minute. She was quite healthy for her age. One Christmas she told me which reading I would do at her funeral. One Easter when my uncle from the other side of the family was telling her about his 95-year-old mother, my grandma told him the government should just kill everyone at 95 and get it over with. So her impending death a family joke for over 10 years. Then at her funeral, which she had planned every detail of years before, they played I'll Fly Away, which is a really dancey, joyous song about dying. It was so her. My sister and I made eye contact and after that we lost it. We were trying to cover our mouths and faces but our shoulders were shaking, so my cousins behind us thought we were crying and tried to comfort us. Eventually we were laughing so hard we were crying, so it evened out. Sounds like my great-gran, but she passed away at 81. Always joking about how it was her last Christmas and whatnot for years. At her funeral they played Another One Bites the Dust and it just set us all off. Incredible woman. A few years ago I was participating in a religious ceremony with my extended family. I'm not religious, but my mom and her family are, so I agreed to participate. I was tasked with reading one of the sections aloud and had to read off a list of titles of the Virgin Mary. Most of them were pretty straightforward. Queen of the Angels, Queen Most Holy, etc. But there's one section that starts with the word Virgin. I get to it and I'm trying not to smirk. But as soon as I said the phrase Virgin Most Powerful, I glanced at my brother and my significant other and they were grinning at me. Their grins caused me to burst into giggles and I had to excuse myself while my mom glared knives into me. My brother continued the rest of the reading. I cracked up just reading this. It's just too much. Whatever your personal views on chastity and on religion, Virgin Most Powerful has to be hilarious. Oh good lord, you made it to the end of the video. Give this video a thumbs up so I can give my butthole a thumbs up. And if you like my videos please feel free to subscribe. I post my bullshit every other day. Thank you, Flea.